what are your predictions for the potential final Senate makeup?
It's going to be close one way or another. We've got 7 or 8 races that are competitive, really competitive, somewhat competitive. It's probably going to be a 51-49 split at best.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Westwood, and I'm here today with magazine editor David Mark. And David, the race for the Senate is firming up. Now that we're through primary season, we're getting a better understanding of how voters are receiving some of these wild card candidates.
Right.
Where do you see things right now, and what are your predictions for the potential final Senate makeup?
It's going to be close one way or another. We've got 7 or 8 races that are competitive, really competitive, somewhat competitive. It's probably going to be a 51-49 split at best for either party. Maybe Republicans pick up a couple seats. Maybe Democrats can add. It's also quite possible we'll stick at 50-50 and Vice President Kamala Harris will spend more time on Capitol Hill breaking ties.
Let's talk about a couple of those individual races. In Pennsylvania is a really interesting one because Dr. Oz is not necessarily seen as a great candidate. John Fetterman has health problems that are potentially disqualifying to some voters. And then also in Georgia, Herschel Walker seemed to be down by quite a bit, right after the primary, and is potentially overtaking Senator Warnock. So give us the lay of the land of how those two races might go?
Yeah, there's a lot of flawed candidates in there, you might say. In Pennsylvania, Dr. Oz, the former television doctor, the Republican nominee, he's not really been able to have much of a connection with the voters. But John Fetterman, the Democratic candidate, the current lieutenant governor, he's had terrible health problems. He had that stroke, and he's been kind of coy about the actual state of his health. Oz has tried to use this to his advantage, kind of taunting Fetterman about not debating as much as he would like. But you got to be tricky with that, particularly because Oz, of course, is a heart surgeon by training, so he doesn't want to look like he's taunting a patient. As for Herschel Walker in Georgia, the former college football star, he admits he's not the greatest candidate, but it is still a Republican-leaning state. Democrats are making some big gains there, but you got to say Republicans are always going to be competitive, at least right now.
So if you had to pick, what would you say the best pickup opportunity is for Republicans and then Democrats to flip a Senate seat?
I think Georgia is Republicans' best pickup opportunity. Still an uphill slog there, but one that they're eyeing, and I think Pennsylvania is exactly that for Democrats. Democrats had thought they had a decent chance in Wisconsin, where incumbent Republican Senator Ron Johnson has put his foot in his mouth. He's made a lot of gaffes over the years, but their own candidate, Mandela Barnes, lieutenant governor, pretty far left, and he doesn't really seem to be gaining a whole lot of traction in the polls. So it might just be a swap, 1 for 1.
And switching gears, finally, Democrats and celebrities were stoked this week about the lawsuit from New York Attorney General Letitia James against Donald Trump, sort of taking a victory lap. Is this the beginning of the end? We saw that same sort of behavior around the Russia investigation, right? So do you think they have a reason to be that optimistic?
Right. It's certainly that New York state lawsuit against Trump and the former president and his family. Also, some of the rulings overruling the district court judge in the Mar-a-Lago documents case that Trump has been complaining about, et cetera. A few other legal proceedings have undoubtedly gone against Trump. That doesn't mean, though, that he's been indicted or charged with anything. He very well could be. I won't claim to be a legal authority on this, but I do think we saw in the early years of Trump's term, first couple of years, particularly when Robert Mueller and his team were investigating, we would get all kinds of theories on TV and guesses from Trump's critics, and very few of them actually came to pass. So I think it might be some enthusiasm from Democrats and liberals that is not quite warranted yet.
Well, David, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
You can get more reporting from David and the rest of the political team at washingtonexaminer.com.